how many of you like to write but you don't like to read? Yeah, I see some hands. Okay, the first thing before I even go any further that you need to learn is that in order to be a good writer, you must also be a good reader. And I say that not because I'm a publisher's agent and I'm like, you need to buy books because you need to read. Well, the best thing that you could do to make your writing better is to read more. Because the more you read, the more you figure out things that you could put in your novel. Because really, the only thing different about books is just a little bit different wording, a little bit different strategies. There's nothing really new about any book. It's always good guy goes off some adventure and beats a guy. That's how every novel is, pretty much. The good guy ends up doing something better and becomes a better person just from what he did. Well, in order for you to read better, I have some strategies for you to read. When you're reading, you need to think of how could I make this better, or how could I use this paragraph or this page in my own words. Like, say you were reading, let's say you're reading the Bible, okay, random book. If you picked a passage and it seemed like it was old English, and you're like, thine own thou thee, and everything like that, and if you said it in your own words, how would it sound? And that's one of the things you need to develop as a writer, is your voice. Your voice as a writer, your tone, the way that you express your ideas in books is based on how you've read things, what you've heard from people, what strategies have you learned for reading. And some things that you need to do as far as reading is look into getting e-readers. This is a Kindle. In our school, they bought us all in our English class, our junior English class, they bought us all Kindles. And so we each get to use these for the semester. And I'm told that your school is considering getting these. Well, it looks kind of something like this. They have different versions of it. And it uses a different kind of technology. It lets you read it easier in the light, and so that you could read it outside. You know how your eyes always start hurting whenever you look at a page long enough when you're reading a book? Then using this, it makes it easier to read. You turn it on and you've got the words, and since it's on a gray background, it makes it easier to read on your eyes. And this is good for reading in the daytime, if you're reading outside, if you're reading in poor lighting, this is good for this. And then I've got my personal e-reader, which I use. It's called a Literati. And this thing is different from the other one in that, you know, like iPods and TVs and computers, they use LCD screens. Well, this is an LCD screen too, and it's in color screen. So if you'd rather read in the dark, or you're a person who likes to read before bed, things like that, a Literati is easier to read. And, all right, how many of you have ever read Jane Austen books? There's one, we got one. How many of you have read A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens? Yeah, that's what I thought. When you read classic books, even though you may not understand them very much, it helps you get a little bit smarter, if you know what I mean. Like, if you're writing is, well, I was walking down the street and I was looking at the ground and there was a piece of gum and I almost stepped on it, that's not good writing. If you said, I was walking down the street holding my head high, thinking of all the wonderful things that had happened to me at school that day, and then I perspired a little bit because of the sun drinking on my face, and oh, gasp, there's a piece of gum on the ground. See, I'm very dramatic. Then that makes your writing better. And the more that you have, the more details that you have, the better your writing is. And you learn some pretty awesome strategies for writing details based on old classics. Like Jane Austen. Jane Austen wrote books, that was poor. She wrote books where she would give an entire background on all of her characters. And she would make you feel like you were in 200 years ago England, and that you were Elizabeth Bennet trying to figure out something to do about your love life, because your love life was horrible. But she makes it sound so intricate that you're glued to the book from cover to cover. That was Pride and Prejudice. That's Elizabeth Bennet. Go read it. It's good. Have any of you seen old movies that have been made after classics? Like there's Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice. You've got there's several new movies that are coming out for old books. And how many of you have watched Troy or Gladiator or 300, any movies like that are based on, say, Greek mythology or Greek history, the more you watch movies, the less you get to appreciate the books that they came from. The more you read the books, however, better you understand the stories that come behind it. And I'd like to give you a few strategies for writing. As far as, number one, you got to read. You got to be a good reader to be a good writer. And number two, you have to develop healthy habits for writing. How many of you write every day outside of school? That's what I thought. All right. What you need to do, if you're an aspiring writer and you're wanting to write a novel, you need to write every day. It doesn't matter if you're writing 10 pages or you write one sentence. How many of you have Facebook and Twitter? What do you do when you update your status? You put something that you thought throughout the day, right? Or, ugh, I've got homework again. Oh, I've got to go home and do my homework or something like that. Or, gosh, my mom is writing on me right now. She won't let me go to that cool party or something like that. You are writing down something of your thoughts. Without thoughts, people wouldn't be people. We wouldn't have humanity. Humanity, what makes us different from animals is we have a mind to think with. I mean, sure, we've got muscle, but so does a bear, so does a monkey. But we've got minds to think with. And whenever you think about what you're putting on those Facebook status updates, try thinking of a quick thought. Just something that you thought throughout the day that was rather interesting. Like, say you wrote a haiku, like a little 3-line poem. Then you could write that and put that on your status, and people would notice that you're actually thinking. Instead of just putting, sigh, have to go do this, have to go do that. Now, also for writing, you need to develop some other strategies like reading things that would help you with your style particularly. Like, say you like to read horror books, or you like to read love stories or something like that. Read that kind of genre, but don't stay in that genre. You need to branch out a bit when you're reading, because the better reader you are, the better writer you are. But not all readers can be writers. The few of you that are talented with creative writing, just cherish that gift, because not all readers are good at writing. And I would like to tell you about something that I did a year and a half ago. I started writing my novel. My novel is now about 60,000 words. Let me hold it up. That's my novel. It looks thick, but trust me, it's a lot thicker. There's a thing that I heard about from an English teacher at my school called National Novel Writing Month. I found out about it because I saw this book on your shelf. It's called No Plot, No Problem, a low-stress, high-velocity guide to writing a novel in 30 days. The dude who wrote it is the founder of National Novel Writing Month. And this month is November every year. Thousands of people participate in it, where they go and they spend 30 days writing 50,000 words. They write all 50,000 words in 30 days every year. Somebody's doing this every year. And this guy wrote a book about the strategies that he uses for writing it. And I'll summarize a little bit of it for you. When you're writing your novel, if you're writing one right now, and I doubt any of you will be admitting out loud, oh my gosh, I'm writing a novel. Just start one. Think about it. If you started one and use the strategies that are in this, like, for example, one is to write in bulk. Don't worry about writing perfect work. Just write as much as you can and as often as you can. Such as your Facebook status updates. If you spent the 2 seconds that you do writing your Facebook status, then if you wrote that in your novel instead, you'd have a book written in 6 months. And think of how much time that would have spent if you had sat there just typing at your computer, trying to figure out what to write. But instead you took the time and just wrote a sentence a day or a paragraph a day. When you're writing, how many of you kind of go off in your own little world when you're reading a book or when you're writing one? Yeah. How many of you, when you're reading Twilight, were thinking, oh my gosh, he's such a hunk. Why does he loves Bella, he loves me. You were thinking Bella, because the author used the tone that made you feel like you were the young girl Bella that was depressed with her life, and then suddenly this vampire who you were drawn to in weird ways, and you liked him and everything, and they made you believe that you loved a vampire. I mean, you would never think that